Hello, everybody. I'm so excited you could join us today because today we're diving into a really cool topic that we've never actually discussed before. And it's really a new way, not a new way, but it's a proven way to get business that you might have not considered before, but it's something we're actually as a company jumping into right in this moment. So with us is the foremost expert in this space, Rylee Meek. Now, Riley's the founder and CEO of Social Dynamic Selling System, which turns dinner seminar marketing into a science. After responding to a small ad on Craigslist in 2009, Rylee was introduced to a new concept of selling, one in which radically changed his life forever. Now, having just $673 in his bank account, but more importantly, a burning desire for more, Rylee went on to produce over $80 million in sales over the last 8 years, in large part using the system. Now that he has perfected his model through continual trial and error, he's sharing this learned vision and is on a mission to help other entrepreneurs like you and business owners achieve the revenue goals that they have to live the lifestyle they desire. Now, everything he teaches is tried, tested, refined, and proven to create a predictable, sustainable, and scalable selling system. Rylee, thanks for coming on with me today.
Hey, Ty. Appreciate it. Glad to be on here.
Well, I'm excited you could be here because we were just chatting before and I said, man, like we are just venturing into this space right now. So like the timing couldn't be better for you to come on because I don't think a lot of people are doing what you're doing out there.
Right. Yeah, it is kind of a little, we call it kind of a hidden gem in the marketplace to generate new clients, new leads, and to just really have that constant flow of potential business coming into the business.
That's awesome. And, not only is this something you're doing in your own business, but you've even released a book, Food for Thought, and that's become an Amazon bestseller. So, I mean, you're really the authority in this topic, just showing how much you've done in the space.
Yeah, it's been a pretty exciting, 8-9 years, so to say. We've done this format. We've used dinner seminar marketing for a number of different products, a number of different services, different industries. And as I was just always constantly, trying to find like the next product, what else could I sell through this format? I really had that aha moment where I realized we were the product. We had the system. We developed a well-oiled machine here, and the product was really irrelevant. It was more about getting in front of people, not only people, but the right people, the best possible prospects that we could find, and deliver a presentation. And from there, it was really just to get them to know, like, and trust you. And if people know, like, and trust you, they'll do business with you.
Well, it's so cool that you're teaching this. I'm just such a fan of, entrepreneurs that get scrappy and find these cool ways of doing things and then perfect it and then take that extra step of then teaching the rest of us how to do this so we can adapt this into our business. Now, a lot of people don't know what dinner seminar marketing is, and I want to jump into that. But let's talk a little bit about your path. Like what got you started down this road to that aha moment where you discovered this to begin with?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely I've got to kind of go more in depth into the book of just kind of how the social dynamic selling system came about. But really back in 2009, 2010, I had the opportunity to move down to Mexico for a few months, and we had an opportunity to open a business, and in that business ultimately failed, and unfortunately. And so I came back to the States. I invested all my money. I invested, I leased out my condo. I was looking for like, what was I going to do? I was literally sleeping on my sister's couch, and I was just searching. This is one of those spots in life where it was like, all right, what's next? I was only 23 at the time, so it wasn't like I was, at the end of my rope or anything. But I was just searching, and I came across this little ad on Craigslist, as you'd mentioned in the opening kind of bio there, and this ad said, make $10,000 a week working 3 days a week. And I thought, yeah, right. That sounded way too good to be true. And I ultimately, though, just the spirit inside me said I need to inquire upon it. And I ended up meeting with a gentleman. He said, come on out. I'm hosting an event not too far from you. I drove a couple hours. And that's when I walked into this room and saw a group of people that were just eager to hear what he had to offer. And he got to do his presentation, and ultimately then asked for appointments and only met with those that actually wanted to know, or take the next step. They want to know like what the price was. And that's when it clicked for me. I thought, man alive, if I could do this and, leverage not only my money, but my time, because my background prior to this point was really just one-on-one sales, and it's like, I realized I made a decent living doing that. I was making six figures by the time I was 19, but it was always just capped at, not only the price of the ticket item, but the amount of time that I would have, because usually my one-on-one presentations were, up to 2-3 hours at a time. And you can only do a few of those a day without running yourself ragged. And so that, when I saw this one-to-many format of selling to a group of people versus selling one-on-one, that was when I had that, holy cow, this could really be it. And as I drove back home, or drove back to my sister's couch that night, I just couldn't get a wink of sleep. I was up all night just thinking, like, how could this work? Who could I invite to these events? What product could I even sell? And over the next few months, I put together kind of a plan or a program. I hosted my first event in July, and our first 6 months just selling a couple just normal products, nothing crazy that anybody couldn't sell themselves. But if you can build a story around it and create every decision, every buying decision, I believe, is an emotional decision. If you can create that story and attach it emotionally to somebody, you can get them to make that buying decision. And that's what we did. Our first 6 months, we did 2.1 million in sales. And that's when really things started to blow up for us.
So what product were you selling?
Home insulation and LED lighting. Yeah, I mean, it's the most silly thing, because I could barely hang a picture, let alone do I know anything about home remodeling or, or insulation.
Well, I laugh because it's like, there's people going, oh yeah, 2 million in 6 months. Like, what could you be selling? And the fact that you answer with insulation, it's like, okay, that kind of establishes that anybody can do this, right? I mean, he's selling insulation and made $2 million. Doesn't even know anything about insulation. So
right, exactly. And that was it. I mean, it's like, I don't know how electricity works, but I turn the light switch on every morning, and I don't care how it works. If it works, I'm just going to continue to do it. And that's what we did. And, that would have been 2010, going into 2011. We just added on once we realized we had really perfected this system. Because as you said, I started out on a credit card. This was $673. I was broke. I came back from Mexico. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I had a dream. I don't want to make it sound cheesy, like I had a dream, but I had a vision more so of like, I think I can really do this. And if I can invest a few $1,000s in marketing, and deliver what I think was a compelling story, I got people to, slowly, a couple sales the first event, a few sales the next event. And then once we were, able to do multiple sales per event, we really had our presentation and everything kind of dialed in, where we could start to scale at that point, which was adding on more sales reps, opening up new markets throughout the country. And by the end of 2012, we were in 38 states. I had 26 sales crews, and we were doing millions of dollars of business selling insulation.
So I want to talk about the system because you've perfected this, and there's obviously a lot of working components, many of which I don't know. So I'm going to ask about the ones I would believe that might be there, and then see where this takes us. So let's say ultimately what we're doing is getting a lot of people to one place where you then have an opportunity to pitch, not really in an attempt to try to sell, just to find out who's interested, to get to your appointments, and then make your sales one-on-one. Fairly accurate?
Yeah, pretty accurate. Absolutely. I kind of use there's a lot more involved with that, but yeah, at the core of it, we're getting a group of people together. Now there's 90 steps before that on how you get that group of people together. But we get a group of people in a room that are eager to hear what you have to talk about. And we try not to, I teach people not to really make it into a pitch fest, because nobody likes to be sold, but people like to buy. And if you educate them enough and have a compelling enough story on why they would want to work with you, or at least take the next step to sit down with you one-on-one to explore more options, and that's all generated through the flow of the story of what we've kind of coined our journey map of the seminar format and how it should flow, everything all the way from down to how to set up your room, timing of when you should eat dinner, everything along those lines is important and not something to be overlooked, because this was just stuff that I had to learn going through this process, because the first time it's like, we'll just show up and then I'll chit chat for a while, and then I'll feed them and then we'll be on our way. And there was nothing to it. And I realized there had to be a system in place that took people, step by step down this buying process, or this whether it's conscious or even subconsciously taking them down this buying process of ultimately making that decision to do business with you.
So let's dive in a little bit more and talk about the system, or this journey map, as you call it. And again, I'm going to touch on points I think are there, but then I'm going to probably need your help to expand on things that I'm missing. So I would imagine, let's assume that somebody has a product or service to sell. Let's just assume that coming in. If you don't have that, that's a whole other podcast, right? It's a whole other episode. So let's assume that. Then, as you said, the very first thing I would think is, like, how do you even begin to figure out how to go, the list of people to go to start inviting to get into the seminars? I would think that's naturally probably one of the first steps. So is that? And if so, what's the process? How's that process begin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime, when I first started out, again, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just casting the net and seeing what I was pulling up. But anytime, if I was going to take on a new client, or if I was just, coaching somebody through this process, one of the main things we want to do is, obviously we need to know, what you're selling, and not really the product that you're selling, but what are you really selling? If you're selling, I'm just trying to think of, if you're a life insurance salesman, you're not selling them a lump sum since when you die. You're selling them peace of mind. If you're a walk-in bathtub company, you're not selling them a walk-in bathtub. You're selling them safety, and again, peace of mind that they're going to be able to be in their home, or have hydrotherapy, or just aging in place. So you got to really get to what the core of what you're actually selling them, so you can emotionally attach a story to that. But even before that, we really need to identify what who your true client avatar is, because again, if we're trying to, I think of this as when we talk about a system, a lot of people have online funnel systems. We have a funnel system. It's just offline. And I take, really what we do is, if you're going to be into, let's say you're going into Chicago, Illinois, that's where we're starting. And now we need to figure out demographically who we want to invite to your event. And we do that based upon who is your ideal customer. So we can look at, who have you been selling to, if you have been selling, and then we can just kind of reverse engineer and identify who that true client avatar is. And then that gives us a place to start. And then from there, it's, and there's different areas of the country that may work better for certain products. And all of that comes into play when developing kind of a game plan, or the journey map that we had discussed here.
Okay. So it makes perfect sense. Figure out what you're selling. So, like, for example, Credit Suite, we do with business credit financing, but we say that we sell hope and freedom, so I can kind of relate to what you're saying. Figure out the avatar, right? Your demographic, your age, the area they are, et cetera, et cetera. Then what's kind of the next step from there? Are you going to like an Info USA to just try to get a basic list that fits that demographic criteria?
So there's a few big companies that we end up getting our lists from, and it's amazing the data that they have out there, and it's certainly not a perfect system.
It's scary.
But yeah, it is really scary. But it's very advantageous for people like us that want to target areas. But so we have the ability to, if you want, blonde hair, blue-eyed women over 5'11", there's ways that we could try to get to that, or narrow it down to as best as we can. Now, it's never a perfect system, but again, that's part of the funnel. We're starting, we're funneling it down, and at each step of the way, from what our offer is to taking the reservation, to what where we're inviting them, to taking the confirmation calls, all of that up until the actual event. There's steps that we put in place to make sure that we're not getting just anybody to show up, but we're getting the right person to show up.
Okay, so you're figuring out what the demographic is, nailing it down as specific as you can get. Going to your list providers, which, like you said, there's a bunch of big companies out there, these data aggregators that are just taking all this information about us online and aggregating it into a place where you could then narrow down, kind of like what Facebook does, right? They narrow all this stuff down. So then you kind of have your list. And then what are you doing next to get them into that room? Because, the rest of us doing online stuff, and we struggle to get people to click or to fill in an email, right? So, what do you do to get them to then get that motivation to get in that room? Are you then sending them direct mail?
Yeah. We've done all sorts of different things, but when it comes down to it, the absolute best ROI that we've ever had is direct mail, which is so funny because I love having these conversations with people, especially, people my age. I'm only 30, 32. Yeah. What am I, 32? 33. I'm 33 now. Got to think of that. Man, that's I'm getting old when I have to think about my ages. But when people, my demographic or my age group think that online is the way to go, and it is a great way to go if that is who you're trying to target. But a lot of our clients, we're able to not only target and get a better return on an investment from direct mail, but it's a much easier and trackable form of marketing for us. And because if you think about it, I can buy names and addresses and get very, very specific on who we're inviting out to the event. And it's very simple for me to track. If I sent 5,000 pieces or 10,000 pieces or whatever it is, I can easily track how many phone calls I got, and I can, how many people are going to show up to my event. And it's that everything that we have is trackable, and it allows us to adjust on the run if we need to. My response rate wasn't very good, or my show up rate wasn't very good, my closing rate wasn't very good. Through our whole process, our system, we're tracking these numbers to make sure that we have the best return on investment overall. So direct mail, we do a ton of direct mail. I've probably done, I got a few million pieces under my belt easily, and it's fun to not only track that, but to build out the actual, craft that message. And that's really where we start whenever we bring on a new client and we discuss, talking about the who's your client avatar. But we always start in any campaign, we're always starting with the end in mind. And again, what is it that we're really selling? And then backing into that and creating the proper message. So everything flows from the time that they are receiving the invitation to the time that they are, delivering the presentation. Everything flows, and there's continuity with all of it, because again, everything needs to be tracked and monitored. So we know that if some things aren't firing where they should be, we know how we can adjust on the fly and make sure that we're getting the results or the ROI that we're looking for.
Now, Rylee, you do this to grow your business, but you guys coach people through this process as well and help your clients through this, correct?
Yes.
It's important. I want to bring that up because when I listen to this, it sounds easy, right? I'm trying to map it out step by step for people. But the reality is you're going to get stuck at just the list part, like just figuring out the customer avatar and then getting the list and figuring out the messaging right. And you've got millions of direct mail pieces under your belt. So you have an idea of what works and what doesn't work and what plays well and what doesn't play well, which is important because when you don't know that, direct mail isn't cheap. So you're going to go out there and spend a lot of money testing things to figure something out where you could save a lot of money if you kind of have that proven path. So I just want to ask that because I don't want to lead people to believe it's going to be simple if you just follow these steps. It goes without saying there's a lot involved, as you're mentioning, with these steps, even the analytics that you're tracking and what you're tracking, et cetera, for this to really be successful and scalable.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And that's really, when we were, 5-6 years through this process, I've had done, pretty well for myself and, made a good living financially and, for my family, it was great. But, I just came home one night after, just another week on the road, had a good sales week. And I was just sitting down at my coffee table and it was like, man, this is good, but just had zero passion for what I was selling. And, if any of the listeners on here are kind of in that position where it's like you've made money, but you're still just not passionate, you quickly realize that it's not about the money. And there's definitely more to just making money. And that's really when I was I had my kind of that real aha moment where it was like, man, it's not about the next product or the next thing that I could offer or sell. We have a system, and there's plenty of entrepreneurs out there or business owners right now that I'm sure are struggling. And I know I know it because I was there at one point in my life where, you've got a good idea, you got a good product, but you don't have any customers, then you're broke. If you build it, they will not come. You got to go get them. And that's really what, I had that thought. I was like, man, why couldn't I put this into a program? Why couldn't I teach people this system? Those that already have a product, already have a passion for something, and I help them take that and help to reach, the masses if that's what they're looking for. And that's what I put together. The there's a couple different formats that we put together. Like you mentioned, I wrote that book called Food for Thought that became an Amazon bestseller, which is great. To read through that, it's a pretty simple read. I'm not a huge educated person, so I got a 2-year degree, and if you can, you'll be able to read this thing pretty easily if you run through it. But what I did is I broke it down into a practical, step-by-step format, and it really broke it down into kind of 6 modules. It really is what I call them, and it's everything from developing who your true client avatar is, to developing your marketing piece, to sending the marketing piece. How do you go about doing that? Who the heck do you even use, self-address envelopes, or are there companies that can do this? To crafting out your presentation, scripting on how to take phone calls, or reservation calls, confirmation calls. All of that is in place through this book. And then ultimately what I did is I put together an academy, which it allows people to kind of go through it. What I did is I took, a few afternoons and just created modules, or just a step-by-step program in which they're able to, see me on video in delivering the actual process of how we do dinner seminar marketing or the social dynamic selling system. So, that's what I put together to help our clients just kind of hold their hands as they are, going through the process of setting up their own campaigns and trying to grow into different markets. We put together that academy that really kind of just walks them right through it.
That's awesome. And I'm surprised by your story, because I don't know who would ever lose passion about installation, really. I mean,
right?
Glass and fuzzy stuff, like, I don't know how that can happen.
Yeah.
But no, it's very relatable what you say. So when we look through this then, and we talked about some of the complexities that are involved, but let's kind of walk through just the basic 10,000 foot view of the system. So we've talked about the format you're using to get people into the room, the right message, the right avatar. There's a lot involved there to get it to work. How many people are you typically putting in one room?
So this is really dependent upon, again, with the end in mind, what is our ultimate goal? We have to kind of back into it. I mean, we've filled rooms with 300 people, and I've filled rooms with 10 people. And it's dependent upon the product or the offering and the person delivering the message, of course, as well. And all of that we take into consideration when we're putting together an actual campaign. Because, a room too big for a certain product or a certain offering, you might lose the room. And, a room too small, it gets eerie and awkward, where it's like, am I the only one that thinks this is a good idea? So there is a happy medium that we shoot for. And that's all really based upon, again, the product, the offering, what is the ask at the end of the event. If it is, what we typically don't do, and I want to be clear on this, because there's a lot of people out there that are, rah, front of the room, rush to the back of the table, and this is go buy your $48 investment, real estate investment or whatever it is. That's not us. It's definitely not us. Could I help do something along those lines? Absolutely. But we are more about a know, like, and trust, like I said before, where we're inviting people out to typically just a local steakhouse, not necessarily a Hilton, convention center or anything like that. It's just come on out to a local steakhouse, get to know us, and this is what we're going to talk about and what we're going to do. And, I oftentimes refer to it as like fishing with corn dogs. It's if I'm going to go into an area, or if I'm going to go out fishing, and I put a corn dog on my fishing hook, every single time a fish will bite that corn dog. But a fish in nature is never going to survive and live a quality life off of a corn dog. So what we're trying to do is just get the right person, get the fish to bite the corn dog, and now it's up to you. Obviously could be with our training and our guidance, but it's up to you to get them to know, like, and trust you. And but the nice thing is you've got them in a room, you're going to feed them a nice meal, and you've got an hour and a half, and you're the ringmaster, and they're in your circus. So it's up to you at that point.
So, and I love everything you're saying. I mean, I literally just bought your book on Amazon, which so everybody knows you can get it on Kindle. You can also get paperback. This is the content you're talking about, something I would go through, meticulously. So I actually got the paperback version. But I love everything you're saying, makes perfect sense. And I love what you're saying so much, because what people don't understand is online digital advertising. You've got Facebook and Google control 85% of this market. So everybody is putting their money and their efforts there. And I'm really a big advocate of blue ocean strategy, where you've got to look for what other people aren't doing. And let's be honest, I mean, people aren't doing this. It's just not a lot of people doing face-to-face interaction anymore in any which way or form. And I'm a big advocate of that. I think that that's something missing in people's marketing strategies, that if you can do it well and scale, like you're saying, it's blue ocean. It's almost impossible for somebody to beat you at your own space, because like you said, there's so many aspects to what you do that you have to get right. And once you've got that dialed in, it would take somebody years that doesn't know the system or what's going on to even attempt to figure it out.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that was the idea with even putting together the academy. It's like, man, you could go through it and try to figure it out like I did, which, I did figure it out. It just took me a lot of time, and it took me a lot of money.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was making money. I was, stumbling my way through this and making money doing it. And by all means, anybody could go do it. But the point of the academy is to shave off the first couple of years all the trial and error and testing that I had gone through, and to just, somewhat hand it over on a platter and, let you go to town, go do it yourself. Or obviously we can help and guide through that process as well. And I love what you just said too on, Facebook and Google. And part of the reason I came up with the name social dynamic selling system, a lot of people get confused in this, and I actually enjoy it because I get to explain, when people hear social dynamic, like, is this social media or what is this? And no, it's complete opposite, because the social media world isn't social at all. I mean, the social dynamic selling system, there's something unique about getting a group of people, a group of social people. There's a dynamic in that room when you get a group of people, of like-minded people in that room, where I'm up in front of the room, or you're up in front of the room, and you're delivering a message, and you look around and you're seeing heads nod, and everybody else is looking around and they're agreeing with you. Now we're reaching the masses, and it's not somebody sitting behind their computer, wondering if this is a good idea. They've got to meet you face to face, which is certainly, I really feel, has been lost over the last decade of just that face to face interaction. And I truly believe that people are starving for it.
Sure.
I mean, it's people need to be around people. That's the society that we are. And there's nothing better than getting a group of like-minded people together, and then getting them to, again, I always go back to know, like, and trust, because if you can get them to know, like, and trust you, they're going to do business with you, regardless of what the product is.
Yeah, there's so much to what you say. One of the first sales jobs I ever had was really cool in my 20s. I traveled around the country and sold cars. Like, we went to did these auction sales, these super sales. And it was exactly the same fundamental formula you're talking about. Like, you would do direct mail, blast it, then put balloons and all this hype and put all these tables in the showroom and take out the cars, and then people would come and they would feed off each other. And so to give you an idea, no matter where we went in the country, and when I did like this 30 states, in 4 days, we would always do the equivalent of what that dealership did in a month. Whatever they sold in a month, we would sell in 4 days, just based on the hype and this reaction of people looking around going, yeah, man, they're buying, everybody's into this. So I've lived what you're describing. It's so real. So why dinner? I mean, because some people might have concerns that by giving away dinner, you're attracting freebie seekers, for example. Like, why do you find, obviously it's cozy, it's comfortable, breaking bread. I get that aspect. Is that why that's more effective than a Hilton, a Holiday Inn type conference room?
Yeah, I love this question, actually, because this is sometimes the battle that I go through when we're bringing on new clients, and people don't want to buy a $20 steak dinner for these potential clients. And I've done this, I've tested it time and time again, and learned quickly. If I send a direct mail piece out, and let's just take credit repair, or business credit, or whatever it is that they're looking for, and I say, come on out, we're going to teach you how to do this, you're going to get 0.00001% response. But if I say, come on out to the local Jack's Steakhouse for a nice T-bone steak, and I'm going to teach you this, you are going to get a 1 to 3% response rate. Okay, that's the fishing with corn dogs. Okay, we can get them into the room. They know what we're going to talk about, because they've called, they've RSVP'd, we've asked a few qualifying questions. they know exactly what they're coming out. You can even take additional steps to send them additional materials prior to the event if you want to. So they know what they're coming out to. Now, what got them there was the steak dinner or the chicken or whatever it is. I don't care what got them there, and I gladly welcome the freebie people that are in the room, because those are the ones that are shaking their head yes, and those are the ones that are like, yeah, this guy, that creates the social dynamic in the room. And I would happily buy them a steak dinner every night of the week if they would come out and produce that synergy within my room. Because usually, depending upon the product or offering, but you usually only need a few in each event to make it, a heck of a return on investment for you. And so that's why I gladly welcome those out for the free meals. And it makes everything work. That's the social dynamic aspect of it.
Well, I'm glad you clarified the $20 steak dinner, because mine are like 5 times that, and I was like, whoa, man, that's that's expensive. Like Ruth Chris is expensive to be getting everybody steak.
Right. Yeah. That goes back to who are we trying to catch? Who are we trying to attract? If I'm looking for qualified investors that have household incomes of $600,000 a year with investable assets, I'm gonna send them to Ruth's Chris.
Yeah, Sizzler won't work there.
Exactly. If I go to Evansville, Indiana, and I can find the Lone Star and buy a $14.99, 10-ounce top sirloin, they're thrilled, because that's a fancy dinner.
And my parents are from Indiana, and Golden Corral literally is their favorite restaurant.
Exactly.
Just to say how real what you're saying is. So then they're eating dinner, and then you're there for an hour, hour and a half, going through a presentation. Is it a pitch? Is it a information? Here, how does this work? What's the best format there that you've seen work well?
Yeah, well, I mean, there definitely is a science to the quote unquote pitch. Again, the whole point is to get them to know, like, and trust you. But through what I've learned over the last decade, there is a lot of I don't want to say tricks or anything, but there's a lot of important aspects that you can use in front of the room. I'm a master practitioner in NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and so everything I say, everything I do, everything I touch in the whole process is for a reason. And that is what we do to help teach our clients on how to deliver a presentation, how to use voice inflections, how to take somebody from riding high to now experiencing what it feels like to be in pain, or it is an emotional roller coaster that we're trying to deliver and ultimately take them through this path along this presentation, because we have one goal in mind. Everything that we do every step has one goal in mind. And if it's the first step is to identify our client avatar, great. The next step is to get them to respond, great. The next step is to get them to RSVP. The next step is to get them to confirm. At the presentation, you have one goal, and that is to get them to give you a one-on-one appointment. And so, you want to get them to know, like, and trust you, but there's nothing more frustrating at the end of a presentation than to get a standing, round of applause and get 0 appointments. And that's one of the most frustrating things I get from our sales reps. It's like, no, everybody really loved me. Everybody loved me. They told me, they came up to me and how great a presentation I did. And I said, well, how many appointments did you get? None. Oh, okay. Well, then you did a terrible job, because we're not in this to try to get them to, like you. I mean, I say no, like, and trust, but there is a goal at the end of everything we do. And if you aren't getting that appointment, you're not, you got to take them down that path to make that decision, whether it's yes or no. I mean, that's fine, but we've got to get to that decision. And that's where, presentation skills are certainly important in this. And that's part of what we deliver, what we provide through the social dynamic selling system.
Sure. And what's nice about what you're describing is, I mean, this isn't like you were out on the road. Not to say that you weren't, because you were, but you got 26 guys out there or sales guys that you put out there. So it's not even like it was just you being the only guy that could go out and do this. It sounds like you've become a master of training people what they need to do to go out and do this in 30 plus states, 40 plus, 30, 40 states.
Yep.
And so it definitely could be taught, it's just a matter of understanding the system to be able to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when I was a sophomore in high school, speech class, I basically failed it. I mean, it was the scariest thing for me to do, is stand up in front of a group of 20 of my peers and have to deliver a presentation. I shook like crazy. I had the nervousness in my voice, it was just not something that I could do. So it definitely is a learned a learned thing that it definitely can be learned. So it's not, it can be overwhelming to somebody right away if they're thinking, oh, I can't talk in front of a group of people. What we have systems and trainings in place that will help people overcome those fears, and ultimately, be able to deliver the presentation that you're looking to give.
And then the goal is you're there 60 minutes, 90 minutes. The goal is to wrap up, to then ask for appointments. And, what percentage of appointments do you usually expect your clients to walk out with that's a good win?
Yeah, absolutely. And this varies as well. Again, a lot of it depends on the product and the offer. But we try to develop the most, the prettiest offer, so to say, and to get them to make that decision now. So ideally, if we can have a 60-70% appointment rate, I'm pretty happy with that. I've done presentations where I've had 100% sign up rate or appointment rate. I've done presentations where I've had 0%. And at the end of the day, if you just do the numbers, and this is what we're so keen on, is just making sure we're tracking the numbers. If at the end of the day you do this over the course of a year, pretty much appointment rate is usually around the 60 to 70% range, dependent upon the sales rep delivering the message. But that is, if I have a sales rep calls me and says, I thought I did a good presentation, I just got 1 appointment out of 10 opportunities, I'll say, well, what do you think you did, or did you do anything wrong? I don't think so. No problem. Go do the same thing. Because we oftentimes will do back-to-back presentations, and they could go do the same thing and get 100% sign-up rate. And that's just part of the numbers game. With any marketing campaign, if we're tracking the numbers, we're monitoring them over, not a short period of time, but just over the course of weeks and months. We know your numbers are going to work out through this system. It's like, I usually use the example, if I go to the casino and I play the slot machine, and I know that every 4th quarter that I put in there, I'm going to get 5 quarters back. I'm going to continue to put in 4 quarters. I'm never going to stop putting that in. And that's really what this system is, and what we encourage people, that this is a system. This isn't a, do it one time and hope it works, because you need to get some traction. You need to get up and going. And that's what we do. And when we're onboarding new clients and helping them roll out their system, we're highly involved, right out the gates the first few months, to make sure that they are getting the results that we're looking for.
Rylee, as we get ready to wrap up, what haven't I covered? You gave me a pretty good overview of the system, from figuring out who you're supposed to market to message, to how to get to them, to what kind of room to get them into, to what's going on in that room and what that looks like, to tips on presentation, presenting, what the goals are, the analytics to track. What haven't we covered that you think everybody listening or watching should know as we kind of get ready to wrap up?
I coined the term for the social dynamic selling system as a predictable, scalable, or a predictable, sustainable, and scalable selling system. And so whether a person has they're struggling right now, they don't have a sales system, they don't know how to generate clients, great. More than likely we can help them. Or if they're a company that's doing okay, they're doing well, they've got a presence in the Tampa market, but they're looking to scale into South Carolina or Georgia. But they don't have the brand, they don't have the recognition in that area, it can be a big undertaking in order to scale. And so what we've helped companies do, is to go into areas and open them up without a brand, without a presence, a physical location, because we're again fishing with corn dogs, and we're filling a room, and we're delivering a presentation, a compelling enough presentation to get people to take action now. So from a scaling standpoint, I don't know of a better system, or a more cost-effective system, versus having to go into an area and set up a brick and mortar business and a brand. That's expensive. It's super expensive to make that happen, and that's where I think we've had a tremendous success in helping companies open up new markets or scale into new areas that they're looking to get into.
It's powerful stuff. I've been typing all kinds of crazy notes. I've been on your website. I bought your book. I've been active. I promise I've been listening. It's just, Like, I'm really interested in what you say because there's just so much to this strategy. I just think anything people can do to get away from Google and Facebook. And don't get me wrong, I'm not having anything against Google, Facebook. We spend a lot of money with them, but I see firsthand how they change certain things in their algorithm, and the rest of us are running to figure out what's going on. And it's just you're always reactive. You can't be in control. And so I really am a big advocate of doing what other people aren't doing, and going down an unconventional road. And I just love that you found this really successful way. I love that you've proven it can be scalable across multiple states, bringing people in under you to train them how to do it, that you've kind of fine-tuned, dotted the I's, crossed the T's at every aspect of it. And I even love more that you're out there teaching people, man. So really cool, and kudos to what you're doing. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been fun, Ty.
Where can everybody go to learn more?
We have a few different websites. The easiest one is socialdynamicselling.com. So socialdynamicselling.com. That's probably the best site. We're active on all other social media platforms as well. At a personal site, workwithrylee.com. But social dynamic selling is probably going to be the first stop to learn more about the system and understand how we operate. And you can get more information on the academy and everything, how all of that works as well from socialdynamicselling.com.
That's awesome. And again, thanks for coming on and sharing with us today. This has been really enlightening.
Yeah, absolutely, Ty. I really appreciate it. Great to get to know you a little bit more, and looking forward to chatting with you more.
Yeah, same here, man. When you're in Clearwater, we got to connect, do lunch.
Absolutely.
So everybody, make sure you go to socialdynamicselling.com. That's socialdynamicselling.com. This is something you need to learn more about, and there's a tremendous amount of information on the website. Get his book, Food for Thought. If you type in his name, Rylee Meek, RYLEEMEEK, into Amazon, his book will come up. You can get it on Kindle. You can get a paper book. I ordered it while we were here on the show, and I'm looking forward to my copy being delivered, because this is something that we're actually getting ready to jump into right now with no clue how to do it. So what I've learned being an entrepreneur is, like, if I could find the person with the proven roadmap, like, it saves me years and tens of thousands of dollars. And I've never found something like this where it's not worth the investment when you look at the time and money that you end up saving by having the short path by somebody that's already been there and taken the hits. So go to socialdynamicselling.com. A lot of stuff about everything to do with this kind of marketing, with this dinner seminar marketing. So make sure you check it out. Remember, none of this means anything unless you take action. The action to take is go to socialdynamicselling.com to get a bunch of information and schedule a call. It doesn't cost anything to talk more with Rylee and his team about what they can do to help you initiate a dinner seminar marketing strategy. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure that you visit socialdynamicselling.com. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.